بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على الهادي الأمين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Praise be to Allah, the cherisher and the sustainer of the universe, and prayers and blessings of Allah be upon His messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. First and foremost, can I start off by thanking the World Association for Muslim Youth, WAMI, here in London for setting up this event and for affording me the pleasure of being able to speak to you this morning. I've just returned from a 3-week working trip, hopping between various countries, so it's always a pleasure coming back to London and speaking about issues which are much closer to home rather than speaking about matters and issues as important as they are that pertain to further afield matters and concerns. First of all, Brother Nuruddin, whom I had the pleasure of speaking alongside this morning, reminded me to introduce my organization, the Cordoba Foundation. I'm the Chief Executive of the Cordoba Foundation. I'm sure that the brothers and sisters from WAMI have afforded you or given you a copy of our recent publication, which is a guide to working with the media for Muslim organizations here in the UK. We also have a quarterly, a few copies of which you can find in the back, called Archers. The Cordoba Foundation was founded 4 years ago here in London, and basically our essential objective is to bring closer the West and the Muslim world through allowing both sides a new set of information, put in a new way. We're going to talk a little bit about discourse and such, using the kind of terms, phrases, images, concepts that aren't alien to the receptor's mind. And this is also something which I'm pretty sure you'll hear about throughout the proceedings of today. That's our essential nature. If any of you wish to know more about the organization, you're more than welcome to visit our website or to contact myself or any of my associates, inshallah, directly. Now, coming back to my presentation, there are a number of things that I would like to start off with. Firstly, being the challenge of speaking about a topic as vast as this within no more than 12 to 15 minutes. That's an immense challenge, and I'm pretty sure that every single speaker today will find that extremely challenging. But that's the nature of the beast, as they say, and that's the time constraint that we all face, so inshallah we'll try our best. This means that I would like you to fill in the gaps. There will be many gaps. I will be jumping from one slide to another, from one concept to another. But I would like each and every one of you, when I give an example, when I mention something, you have to go back to where you come from, the work of your organization, your own personal experience, and try to see how the ideas that I'm going to be throwing your way, how it fits with those particular experiences, and how you can maybe develop, how you can learn, or maybe you find some fault in the argument that I provide, and then when we have the discussion, then you can hand that back to me. So, without further ado, I'm going to start off. Now, basically, I think the very first thing we need to talk about are the forms of media. And there is, this may seem a little bit patronizing, so I'm going to tell you something that you all know, but I think it's important to see it. When we talk about the media, what exactly are we talking about? Now, most people, when you mention the term media, according to a survey that I read in 2007, around 75% to 78% will immediately think about the mainstream, TV, radio, or the press. That essentially is what more than 3/4 of the public think about when you mention the term media. And of course, that's absolutely right. That's why when we talk about the mainstream media, we're talking about essentially the main channels, the channels, the modes of media that most people consume. I.e., when we're talking about TV, we're talking about the BBC, the Sky, the ITV, the Channel 4s of this world here in the UK. When we're talking about radio, again, we're talking about the BBC, we're talking about LBC, we're talking about Capital, we're talking about Talk Radio, for instance. When we're talking about the press, we're talking about the main broadsheets, the medium-sized, and the tabloids. Those are the mainstream. But of course, we mustn't forget that there is a world beyond the main BBC, Skies, and ITVs. There's a world beyond the main Talk Radios and BBC radios, and there is a world beyond the main, 7 or 8 publications that we see on every newsstand every single day. And beyond the mainstream media, we also have now the internet or the cyber media. Now, as I said, the survey that I read 2 years ago said that around 76 or 78% of people think about the mainstream media. But I'm extremely curious to know how that rates today in terms of the kind of explosion that we've had in the internet, in the internet and cyber media that we all know about and I won't go into. Beyond that, we also have advertisements, mobile communication, SMS, and so on and so forth. By the way, this is something that over here may be quite heavily regulated. But I've just come back from a few countries, including Lebanon, Jordan, Turkey, and others, in which SMS advertising is extremely potent. Now, it may be quite disconcerting when every, half an hour you're receiving a text message. You're hoping that it's from your wife or your kids or someone whom, is going to shed some warmth on your life, but rather it's the local kebab shop telling you about how they have, a wonderful offer that if you buy 2 kebabs, you get a Pepsi free, for instance. But it happens. And therefore, whilst we may not realize how potent this is because of regulatory issues over here, but this is a very, very powerful aspect, in various parts of the world. And like I said, advertisements, for instance. I mean, every single one of us, we are told, are in one way or another, directly or indirectly, consciously or subconsciously, we are victims. It could be that we're good victims, but anyway, we're victims of the beast and the monster of advertising. And beyond that, also, let's not forget, graffiti, T-shirts, tattoos, all these aspects. And you can think about all these are modes of media. Basically, media is a term, the plural term of medium, of conveying a message. Every single aspect of conveying a message, that falls within the whole umbrella of media. Now, the reason why I chose to put this in front of you is very simple. Now, and by the way, I don't want to forget, now that we're talking about Iran and the such, we're now talking about new emerging media, for instance, Twitter and others, which I'm pretty sure that most of you will know more than I do. Now, the reason why I'm putting this in front of you is for 2 reasons. Firstly, to assert the fact that most people in the world today are one way or another susceptible to being influenced or to consume media. It's extremely difficult. Trying to think about this, it's extremely difficult unless you are a castaway in some remote island, in some vast ocean somewhere. It's extremely difficult to imagine how you can actually cut yourself off from all forms of media. Virtually impossible, but I won't say impossible simply because one of you or some of you may actually come up with an example that embarrasses me. So I'm just going to say it's extremely unlikely that anyone can imagine a scenario where basically you are totally cut off from all forms of consuming or interacting one way or another with media. That's one reason.